the other F that I cannot say online, which produced the best F in my life, which is my daughter. That's the name of my daughter. From that F to Faith. Love you. Amen.
We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now.
Oh, I also have one more thing about Meg, just to add. So Meg and I used to be enemies, or
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap!
We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Welcome everyone to another episode of All Abroad Podcast. And by now you guys have heard plenty from us about our childhood, about how we grew up, about how we were raised, the challenges we've had in school, our parents. You might have heard and remember some of the times when we misbehave. And so this podcast is about discussing our life back home and then our life as we migrate to the United States. So we kind of want to wrap up our childhood chapter of this episode or this podcast so that we can continue to talk about current events and everything. When we talked about our childhood and our culture back home and how we grew up, the purpose of that is just to give you a good picture, a good idea of how we personally grew up and how that might be very similar to other Filipinos who grew up back home. We have traditional ways of being grown up. We have the morals, we have religions, and all of the things that we went through going to an all-girl Catholic school, which not everyone went to an all-girl Catholic school, but we did. So we shared that with you. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed some of our fun moments. And even though it felt very personal to us, I hope that there were some points of those stories that you could relate to. And more importantly, if you're not Filipino and you're watching or listening to this, that hopefully it gives you a little insight of what Filipinos have gone through, especially those that were born and raised in the Philippines. So I want to talk to my friends, my beautiful friends who are here today. Hello.
hi.
Pauline is in the house. Joy is in the house. Meg is in the house. And right now, Kat isn't here. But you know what? By the time you hear this, you might see her also or hear her answer some of the questions because we're going to patch her in. You know, with the five of us that work together to make this podcast happen, scheduling is definitely a challenge for us. So Kat had an emergency, but we will patch her in and you guys will get to hear her answers to some of the questions that we're going to ask today. So this is just a little wrap up of how our childhood has helped shape us today. And my first question to all my friends here is, you know, what were some of those lasting lessons you learned when you were in childhood? Or maybe it was something that you specifically encountered, experienced, something that sticks to you till this day, and maybe it reminds you every day of who you are, or it helps you figure out how to raise your kids. Whatever it is, it's super open-ended question because you could take it however you want to take it. So does anyone want to start, or I'm gonna?
You can.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really interested in what you have to say about
Okay.
the lessons learned.
Give them time to think. I'll start. You know, I think that for me, the most, and maybe you would have guessed it already if you've been listening to our past episode. And if you haven't, make sure you check it out. For me, what really sticks out, well, a lot of things stick out to me. My dad was an old dad. My mom and dad have a 28-year gap between them. So my dad could very well be a grandfather to me. So imagine being raised by someone who is so wise, you know, much older and been through so many things. And so my dad's, I think growing up until this day, there are 7 of us siblings. And so until this day, we still quote our dad about, some of the things that he taught us. And I think one of the things that I always take with me with what I learned from my dad is in my dating life, because my dad was that popular guy that everyone liked. So my dad always had like advice on how to deal with guys. And so he always said, guys only want one thing from you. And that's actually a lesson that stuck with me throughout my adulthood and my life. And so I like the way I date guys and the way I deal with my relationships and my dating is always having that in the back of my head, because my dad said guys only want one thing.
Can
But
you
as I
disclose that one thing?
that one thing, I mean, can we disclose it? No, I think that he was saying without really saying it, because he was like, I feel like he was uncomfortable in giving me the birds and the bees talk. I think what he meant is that guys want sex from women, and once they get it, they're gonna leave you, right? And so that's one thing that my dad always ingrained in me. And because I think that's how he moved around when he was a teenager. So he was afraid for his daughters to like be played by all these guys.
Yeah.
And so as I grew up though, and I became who I am, I realized that my dad was uncomfortable in giving me that talk, and that lesson was incomplete. And so I think what he was trying to say is guys only want one thing, which is sex, but you have to give them a reason to stay. So you have to have substance. You have to give them a challenge. You have to pique their interest in their mind, not just physically. And so I think my dad always kind of ingrained that in me. And maybe that's a reason why I'm still single. Well, right now when we're recording this, I'm still single because I think I'm too hard on guys because of my dad.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that I take with me out of everything.
that was really sticking out.
That's what sticks out because I think I do question sometimes. I'm like, why am I hard? Why am I so hard on guys? And it's because of my dad.
Yeah.
So
well, you got to protect your girls, and he did a good job, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, for me, growing up, it's just from the very beginning until in my my adult years, I've always relied on the 3 F's of my life, which is faith, family, and friends. So my family and my parents always have ingrained in me the importance of faith. So whatever happens in my life, I always go back to that importance of family and friendship. So most of my friends I have since time immemorial, since we were 7. So those are like our lifetime friends. And just recently thinking about what to talk about today, then the other F that I realized and have learned from my parents in terms of is financials. So growing up, my parents are not that type who like to save, They're in like one day at a time mentality. Will not save, we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I learned the opposite. Now for them, they don't have the savings. So it costs a lot of now what are we going to do? Growing up back in the Philippines, it's like spend, because you never know what's going to happen. But now thinking that I don't want to live like that, like when I retire, I want to have my own savings, and I want to retire early without having to work as much. So I think that's one of the things that I learned from my parents, like living by example, but doing the opposite. So I will add financial as my 4th F in my learnings from my parents growing up. So that's like my little wrap up things.
Was there any other F's you want to share?
Yes. The other F that I cannot say online, which produced the best F in my life, which is my daughter. That's the name of my daughter. From that F to faith. Love you. Amen. That's all.
Amen.
Let's keep this PG-13.
I mean, honestly, no one 13 years old or below might be listening to this as much as the grown-ups would.
But you're so tech savvy.
No, but we
you know what?
keep it real for the audience.
Yeah.
No, my daughter and my son, they're so excited to watch this. They said, "Oh, when are you gonna launch this?" I'm gonna watch it.
And
So
how old are they?
9 and 6. So we're gonna have
So,
little kids
so
watch.
So we're keeping it PG for your kids. Okay?
exactly.
Because we're trying to market this to the grown-ups, but your kids
I
are going to be
know.
watching. So we're going to keep it as clean, but as real as we can get it, right?
Of course.
And I love what you shared, Joy, about finances. I know I shared something about dating because, I don't know, just keeping it interesting. But I do love that thing about finances because I think because I was in charge of our household finances when I was a kid, that as a grown-up, I became resourceful of
Yeah.
like, how I can make money if there's no money, how I can make something out of zero, how I can make something out of nothing. And I think I thank my childhood for that. And some people might say, oh my God, you grew up so fast. You had to do all that. You're a kid. And honestly, I think only most Americans, like white Americans, might say that. But because they feel bad or, you didn't have your childhood, but I totally had my childhood intact. I just had more responsibilities than most. But I'm definitely happy I went through that because I wouldn't be who I am, like super
Exactly.
hustler.
Yeah. And you can do a million things at once in a day and succeed in every single thing. And that's really awesome. That's something that I cannot do. I can multitask, but not to Sweeney's level.
Wow.
Wow, the queen. Go queen.
Okay, so what about you, Pao? Or Meg? Who wants to go first? Next.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so the lesson that I've learned from my parents during my childhood and up until now, it's within me. I think it's more of taking risk and never giving up. First thing I'm going to talk about risk. I think they taught me how to go out there in this
Crazy world, in this crazy world.
to go out there in this crazy world and take the adventure of a lifetime that I have to risk and everything, whatever obstacle, whatever challenges in life that I will be facing, just enjoy, just live your life. And then also never give up. My dad will always tell me, in whatever thing that you want to do in life, don't give up on something that you really want. So he would always, before, when I was a kid, I will just sit down on our patio and we'll just drink coffee. And he would tell me that no matter what you do in life, never give up, especially with your family, with your children. So someday when you're older, you will not regret in anything because you never give up on the things that is really important in your life. I think that's the main lesson that I've learned from my parents. And of course, from my mom, the values and putting God first in everything that we do. That's the main thing that I got from my mother. And up until now, even to my children, she would teach my children about religion, about values, about God-fearing and everything. So yeah, those are the values up until now that I've learned. And of course, kindness to anybody, in whoever, even though if they did bad on you or step on you, still be kind to everybody. That's it.
I love it. And I have a testimony of a funny one. It's not so deep. A testimony of how Pauline doesn't give up. Because she called me. She called me. Okay, I'm going to totally just put you on the spot right now. So she called me about a dog that they had. And then she's telling me she's afraid of dogs. And I guess they had a pit bull, right? Is that what happened? They had a pit bull, and she called me and said, okay, your brother raised dogs, what do you think about this and that? And I was trying to tell her, I'm like, these big dogs, they can really be loving if you just, raise it in a loving way. And then she's like, I don't know, I'm really scared of dogs. I just, I don't want it to bite my children or whatever. And then I was trying to make her feel like it'll be okay because it's still a puppy, so you can raise it a certain way. But then at the end of that conversation, she admitted she's actually scared of big dogs. And then I admire her because the next thing I know, they got a different dog. They now have a German Shepherd. And then I was telling myself, she's better than me because I would have just, if I had a family, there's 4 of us and 3 of them wanted that dog, I probably would just give in. Okay, you guys can whatever. But she did not give up. She got that dog.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's a big dog too.
yeah, it's a big dog, but I guess the German Shepherd might be a little bit more, I don't know, child friendly. I don't know. So
They're good.
yeah. So anyway, that was just my little testimony and a fun one because it was recent. That happened like 2 weeks ago.
That's funny.
Meg, so the spotlight's on you now.
Me. First, what I've learned from the family that I grew up with, my aunts and my uncle, it's not that serious, but the lesson that I've learned is to eat fruits and vegetables. Because back then I wasn't a big fan of vegetables, but now I eat healthier. Because of them, I learned how to eat fruits and vegetables. And then the second one from my mom, having a strong faith. Because growing up, I've told my stories and I've gone through a lot. And having that faith that things will be better made me not give up. There were times that I wanted to give up, a couple times. But when I think about it, it's the faith and having the belief that you might think that in that moment you have the pain and the hurt in that moment. But as time goes by, it's gonna get better. And having that faith got me through where I am now and surpassed all of the trials and tribulations. So that's the lesson that I learned from my mom and having something to believe in. Because I think that if it was just me, if I didn't believe in anything, I would have given up by now. And because I cannot do it by myself.
Yeah.
So having that belief that there's something, doesn't necessarily be God or Catholic or Christian, but something to believe that is bigger than you, that things can get better. And that is how I cope up with life.
I love it. And I think that goes for all of us, right? I think that faith has been a big part of our lives because number one, Filipinos are just raised Catholic. You kind of don't have a choice, right? Until you grow up and you want different like religion. Mostly, like I want to say 99%. Well, I don't know because there's certain areas where they're Muslims. But anyway, but where we grew up in Bacolod, it's like pretty much Catholic. And so you grow up Catholic, we go to a Catholic school, we practice all of that. And not until you grow up as an adult. And then we move here where you have options for your faith. And then I think that for you guys, I admire you guys. So you guys stuck with the Catholicism. I didn't because I think just the way the churches are set up, I just wanted more conversationalism versus, in Catholicism, it's more structured. So anyway, I think that faith for all of us has been a really great factor in our lives because I'm sure all of us at some point didn't know what's going to happen next, but we just keep going, right? Because we know that everything will be A-okay.
I think for me, the one thing that I really carry with me that my parents have taught me is working hard and really the value of doing things right and being the best that you can be even when no one's watching. So it doesn't matter if someone's watching or not, just really doing things the right way and being the best that you can. Obviously, I love working hard, but I also love working smart. And that's probably one thing that I've added on top of like what my parents have taught me along the way. And also just the value of family. I've carried that with me to this day. They really taught me how to take care of my family, to take care of my brother, take care of everyone around me. And so that's one value that I carry to this day.
So the last question before we close this out, if there's anything that you want to tell yourself back when, let's say in high school years, what would you tell yourself knowing what you know now back then?
Whew. Maybe I'll tell myself, have fun. Don't take life too seriously. Everything that you're going through, good or bad, it shall pass. Don't give up because you will miss out the best things that's happening now or your future if you give up. Just keep going and enjoy your life. And
this is funny kind of coming from you, Joy, because I always thought you always had fun. I don't know.
That's like my way of not taking life too seriously.
Was there ever a time you did not have fun?
Whew. Yeah, I guess if missing your parents and all of that stuff, yeah. But I always have fun because I have amazing friends.
Yes, there you go. You keep a great circle around you, man. And
100%, man.
man, woman. Anyway, anyone else want to share? What would you tell your young self, knowing what you know now?
Go ahead, Meg.
Oh, me, yeah. Things are gonna get better, Meg. You have a great life. Things are gonna get better. Your world in Bacolod is so small. You're gonna meet a lot of people, friends. You're gonna be stronger. It will get better. Yeah.
There you go.
How?
I think for me, I had a good childhood. Everything was amazing. Good friends, good family, and everything. I think the only thing that I want to tell myself is because when I was younger, I was I was in a hurry. Oh, I want to work already. I want to do this. So slow down and enjoy every moment. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm going to tell myself before. You could have slowed down a little bit and enjoy every moment of it. That's
Amen.
it.
That's a good one. For me, I think that I'm sure maybe you all can relate to this, and this could be a whole new episode too. But I agree with all of everything you said. I would have told myself the same thing. But the one more thing I'm going to tell myself is to get some financial literacy education, because none of our parents really taught us how to invest. None of our parents really taught us how to be rich. If we had rich friends, it's because they had rich parents, but none of us really talked about money. We were taught how to save, but we didn't know about investing. So I felt like if I could tell myself something, show my young self something, is where and how to invest my money, because I was really good at saving. At a young age, I had a pretty good savings. I remember, I think in the canteen, I would buy pizzas for a lot of my friends because I had all these money saved up from selling our santol,
Fruit.
selling some used clothes, something. I always had money, but it was only just savings. I wish I knew how to invest. And even moving to America, I wish I would have done better saving as my younger self. So
Yeah.
And the one thing that I would tell myself now that I'm older to my younger self, that cats are not that bad. I should have had cats sooner, but I used to hate them. And then now I love them. Why didn't I have them sooner? Seriously, I would tell my younger self, do not hate on cats because they're amazing creatures and they're going to make your life amazing.
Is there anything else that you guys want to share before we end this episode of wrapping up our childhood?
No, I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you for hosting this, and I love you guys.
As always.
As always, we love each other. And so thank you guys for tuning in for us wrapping up, the things that we got out of our childhood, things that we learned from our childhood, things that we're taking into our adult life, or things that we want to tell our child, versions of ourselves if we could turn back time. If we could turn
back time.
There you go. It's a good segue to our next episode. It's that time. So guys, thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode of All Abroad Podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for tuning in into another episode of the All Abroad podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show, and if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to hit the like or subscribe button. You can also comment, and we'll be sure to get back to your comments. And if you are listening to us on iTunes, make sure to also rate and review us. Thank you, and we hope to see you soon.